The mysterious anomaly. Lieutenant Sarah Chen squinted at her sensor readouts, her brow furrowed in concentration. The scout ship Curiosity had been performing routine scans of Jupiter's magnetosphere when something caught her eye. An energy signature unlike anything she'd ever seen before. "Captain Reynolds," she called out, her voice taut with excitement and apprehension. "You need to see this." Captain Jack Reynolds, a grizzled veteran of countless deep space missions, strode over to Chen's station. His weathered face creased with concern as he studied the flickering holographic display. "What am I looking at, Lieutenant?" he asked, his gravelly voice barely above a whisper. Chen's fingers danced across the controls, zooming in on a region of space just beyond Jupiter's largest moon, Ganymede. "This energy signature, sir, it's massive, and it doesn't match any known natural phenomenon." Reynolds leaned in closer, his steel-gray eyes narrowing. "Could it be some kind of sensor malfunction?" "Negative, sir," Chen replied, shaking her head. "I've run 3 separate diagnostics. Whatever this is, it's real." The captain straightened up, his mind racing through possibilities. "All right, let's take a closer look. Helm, set a course for these coordinates. Chen, keep monitoring that signature. I want to know the moment anything changes." As the Curiosity altered its trajectory, the crew fell into an uneasy silence. Humanity had yet to make first contact with any extraterrestrial intelligence, but every space explorer knew it was only a matter of time. Was this finally the moment they'd all been waiting for? Hours passed as the scout ship approached the anomaly's location. The energy readings grew stronger, defying all attempts at classification. Then, just as they were about to reach the designated coordinates, something extraordinary happened. "Captain," Chen exclaimed, her eyes wide with disbelief. "The signature, it's shifting." Before their eyes, the empty space ahead of them began to shimmer and distort. It was as if reality itself was being bent and reshaped. Slowly, impossibly, a structure began to materialize out of the void. "My God," Reynolds breathed, his usual stoicism shattered by the sight before them. As the cloaking field dissipated, they found themselves face to face with a colossal structure that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. It was a sprawling geometric marvel that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Crystalline spires reached out into space, while massive rings rotated in complex patterns around a central hub. It's a space station," Chen whispered, her voice filled with awe. "But the scale, it must be the size of a small moon." Reynolds swallowed hard, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. "Chen, are you detecting any signs of life? Any transmissions?" The lieutenant shook her head, her fingers flying over her console. "Nothing, sir. No radio signals, no visible activity. It's as if..." Her words were cut short as the Curiosity suddenly lurched forward, caught in an invisible grip. "We're being pulled in," the helmsman shouted, frantically trying to regain control of the ship, some kind of tractor beam. "All hands, brace for possible impact." Reynolds bellowed, gripping the arms of his command chair. "Chen, send out a distress signal to Earth. Let them know what we've found and what's happening." As the scout ship was inexorably drawn towards the alien structure, the crew watched in a mixture of terror and fascination. They passed through a shimmering energy field that seemed to part like water, allowing them entry into a cavernous docking bay. The moment they crossed the threshold, the Curiosity's systems went haywire. Displays flickered and died, engines sputtered to a halt, and the artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. "Report," Reynolds demanded as the ship settled onto the polished floor of the docking bay with a gentle thud. "Sir," Chen replied, her voice shaky, "all systems are offline. We're dead in the water." As the crew grappled with their sudden helplessness, movement outside the viewports caught their attention. What they saw next would change the course of human history forever. Aliens, dozens of them, hundreds, a dizzying array of forms and colors, some vaguely humanoid, others completely beyond imagination. They moved about the docking bay with purpose, seemingly unaware of or indifferent to the human ship in their midst. It's a city, Chen gasped, pressing her face against the viewport. Beyond the docking bay, they could see soaring structures, hovering vehicles, and more aliens than they could count. We've stumbled into some kind of galactic metropolis. Reynolds felt the weight of responsibility settle heavily on his shoulders. Somehow, they'd breached the defenses of what appeared to be a highly advanced alien civilization. The consequences could be catastrophic. "All right, listen up," he said, his voice cutting through the stunned silence of the bridge. "We need to establish contact. Make it clear we mean no harm. Chen, you're with me. We'll try to find someone in charge. The rest of you, stay with the ship. If anything goes sideways, you get a message to Earth at any cost." As Reynolds and Chen donned their sleek exosuits and prepared to step out into the alien environment, the captain couldn't shake a feeling of foreboding. They were about to become the first humans to make official contact with an alien civilization, and they were doing it as accidental invaders. The airlock hissed open, and they stepped out onto the polished floor of the docking bay. The atmosphere was breathable, according to their suits' sensors, but they kept their helmets on as a precaution. Almost immediately, they found themselves the center of attention. Aliens of all descriptions turned to stare at them, conversations in 100 unknown languages falling silent. "Well," Reynolds muttered, "so much for a subtle approach." Before they could decide on their next move, the crowd of aliens parted. A tall, elegantly robed figure glided towards them. It had 4 arms, iridescent skin, and a head that seemed to be composed entirely of softly glowing tendrils. The alien stopped a few paces away from the humans and raised one of its upper arms in what seemed to be a gesture of greeting. Then, to their utter astonishment, it spoke in perfect English. "Welcome, humans," the alien said, its voice resonating in their minds rather than their ears. "We've been expecting you. Though not quite so soon, and certainly not like this." Reynolds and Chen exchanged baffled looks. You know who we are?" the captain asked. The alien's tendrils rippled in what might have been amusement. "Of course. We are the Galactic Council, and we have been watching your species for quite some time. Though I must say, your method of introduction is rather unorthodox." As the implications of the alien's words sank in, alarms began to blare throughout the station. The alien's demeanor changed instantly, its tendrils writhing in apparent distress. "What is the meaning of this?" it demanded, all traces of welcome vanishing from its mental voice. "Why have you brought weapons to the sacred neutral ground of the Council?" Reynolds felt his blood run cold. "Weapons? We haven't brought any." His words were drowned out by a deafening roar as the docking bay's massive doors slid open. To his horror, he saw a fleet of Earth's most advanced warships emerging from the swirling vortex of a jump point. Somehow, in the span of a few short hours, humanity had gone from a promising young species on the verge of galactic citizenship to invaders attacking the heart of a vast alien federation. As chaos erupted around them, Reynolds realized that the next few moments would determine the fate of not just his crew, but of all humanity. The first contact he had dreamed of his entire career had turned into a nightmare, and now it was up to him to prevent it from becoming an interstellar catastrophe. Panic and preparations. The news of the Curiosity's discovery spread across Earth like wildfire. Within hours of receiving the scout ship's distress signal, every news outlet on the planet was broadcasting the same shocking headline: "Alien megastructure found near Jupiter." In New York City, United Nations Secretary-General Amara Okoro stood before a hastily assembled emergency session of the General Assembly. Her normally calm demeanor was strained as she addressed the gathered representatives. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice echoing through the tense chamber, "we face an unprecedented situation. The existence of extraterrestrial intelligence has been confirmed, and it appears they have been operating within our solar system undetected for an unknown period of time. Murmurs of disbelief and fear rippled through the assembly. Okoro raised a hand for silence before continuing. We have lost contact with the Curiosity and its crew. We do not know if this is due to technical difficulties or other factors. What we do know is that we must act swiftly and decisively to protect Earth and its interests. As the Secretary General outlined a series of emergency measures, the assembly erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted over one another, some demanding immediate military action, others calling for caution in attempts at peaceful communication. Meanwhile, in the corridors of power in Beijing, Washington, D.C., Moscow, and other capitals, leaders grappled with the monumental implications of the discovery. In the Oval Office, U.S. President Evelyn Carter paced back and forth, her face etched with worry. "What are our options, General?" she asked, turning to the stern-faced man standing before her desk. General Marcus Blackwood, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, cleared his throat. "Madam President, given the potential threat this alien presence poses, I strongly recommend we mobilize our space-based assets immediately. We have several battle cruisers that could reach Jupiter's orbit within 48 hours using our latest jump drive technology." Carter frowned, considering the general's words. "And if these aliens turn out to be peaceful, we could be starting an interstellar war." "With all due respect, Madam President," Blackwood countered, "we can't afford to take that chance. If they're hostile, every moment we delay could be catastrophic." Before Carter could respond, her secure phone buzzed. It was the Chinese president calling for an urgent discussion. Similar conversations were taking place in the Kremlin, at 10 Downing Street, and in the Élysée Palace. As world leaders debated and argued, Earth's populace reacted to the news with a mixture of fear, excitement, and confusion. Social media platforms were flooded with theories, ranging from the plausible to the absurd. Religious leaders offered conflicting interpretations of what the alien presence might mean for humanity's place in the cosmos. In Cape Canaveral, Florida, a flurry of activity engulfed the sprawling spaceport. Engineers and technicians worked around the clock to prepare Earth's most advanced warships for immediate deployment. The atmosphere was electric, with a combination of fear and determination. Commander Zara Malik, one of Earth's most decorated space naval officers, strode purposefully through the controlled chaos of the launch facility. She was headed for the Tranquility, a state-of-the-art battlecruiser that would serve as the flagship for humanity's response force. As she approached the towering vessel, a young lieutenant fell into step beside her. "Commander," he said, his voice tight with barely contained excitement, "final preparations are almost complete. We'll be ready to launch within the hour." Malik nodded curtly, her dark eyes fixed on the gleaming hull of the Tranquility. "Good. Have all personnel reported in?" "Yes, ma'am." Though the lieutenant hesitated, there's been some concern among the crew about what we might be flying into. Malik stopped and turned to face the young officer. "Listen carefully, Lieutenant. We're about to embark on the most important mission in human history. Every person on this ship needs to be focused and ready for anything. Fear is natural, but we can't let it control us. Understood?" The lieutenant straightened, bolstered by the commander's words. "Yes, ma'am." "Understood." As Malik continued her inspection of the Tranquility, similar scenes were playing out at spaceports across the globe. In Baikonur, Kourou, and Vandenberg, ships were being fueled, weapons systems checked, and crews briefed for the unprecedented mission ahead. The international nature of the response force was a testament to the gravity of the situation. Old rivalries had been set aside, at least temporarily, in the face of a potential threat to all of humanity. American battlecruisers would fly alongside Chinese destroyers, Russian frigates would coordinate with European corvettes, and crews from dozens of nations would work together as one. Back in New York, Secretary General Okoro was putting the finishing touches on a message to be broadcast to the alien structure. It was a delicate balance of diplomacy and strength, extending an offer of peaceful communication while making it clear that Earth was prepared to defend itself if necessary. As she reviewed the message one final time, Okoro couldn't shake a feeling of surreal detachment. Just days ago, her biggest concern had been mediating a trade dispute between two small nations. Now she was crafting humanity's first official words to an alien civilization. With a deep breath, she nodded to the communications technician. "Send it." As the message beamed out towards Jupiter, Earth held its collective breath. In homes, offices, and public spaces around the world, people gathered around screens, waiting for any news of a response. Hours passed with no reply. The silence from the alien structure was deafening, fueling speculation and increasing tensions. Some interpreted it as a sign of hostile intent, while others argued that the aliens might simply need time to decode and understand the message. As the launch window for the response force approached, President Carter made one final call to her counterparts in other major powers. Despite their differences, they all agreed on one thing: Earth needed to present a united front. With grim determination, Carter gave the final authorization for the mission to proceed. "May God have mercy on us all," she murmured as she put down the phone. At Cape Canaveral, Commander Malik settled into her command chair on the bridge of the Tranquility. Around her, her crew worked with practiced efficiency, their nervousness hidden behind a veneer of professionalism. "All systems are go, Commander," her first officer reported. "We're ready for launch." Malik took a deep breath, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. "Very well. Commence launch sequence." As the Tranquility and its sister ships roared to life, their engines igniting with earth-shaking power, humanity took its first tentative step into a larger, more complex universe. Whether they were flying towards peaceful first contact or interstellar war remained to be seen. The ships rose majestically into the night sky, quickly becoming pinpoints of light indistinguishable from the stars. On the ground, millions watched their departure, their hearts filled with a complex mixture of pride, hope, and fear. As Earth's first interstellar battle group disappeared into the depths of space, one question burned in every mind. What would they find when they reached Jupiter? The answer, whatever it might be, would change the course of human history forever. The devastating misunderstanding. As Earth's fleet approached the massive alien structure orbiting Jupiter, tension aboard the flagship Tranquility reached a fever pitch. Commander Zara Malik stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing the impossible geometric patterns of the alien megastructure. "Still no response to our hails," Commander reported Lieutenant Chen, her fingers dancing over the communications console. "It's as if they're not even listening." Malik frowned, a sense of unease growing in the pit of her stomach. Something about this situation felt wrong, but she couldn't put her finger on what. "Keep trying all frequencies, including the ones the Curiosity reported using." Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. "Multiple energy spikes detected," shouted the tactical officer. "They're powering up something big." Malik's training kicked in, overriding her hesitation. "Battle stations. All ships. Assume defensive formation Delta. Weapons hot, but hold fire unless I give the order." As the Earth fleet scrambled into position, the alien structure began to change. Massive sections shifted and realigned, revealing what looked unsettlingly like weapon ports. "Commander," Chen called out, her voice tight with urgency, "I'm picking up a transmission from inside the structure. It's from the Curiosity." Before Malik could respond, a familiar voice crackled over the comm system. It was Captain Reynolds of the Curiosity, sounding desperate and out of breath. "Earth Fleet, this is Captain Jack Reynolds. Do not, I repeat, do not engage. This is all a misunderstanding. The structure is." His message cut off abruptly, replaced by static. Malik's mind raced. Could this be a trick? Or was there really more to this situation than they understood? She had seconds to make a decision that could determine the fate of humanity. In that moment of hesitation, fate intervened. A young, nervous weapons officer on one of the Chinese destroyers, mistaking the alien structure's reconfiguration for an attack, fired a salvo of missiles. Missiles launched. Malik's tactical officer shouted. "They're not ours." Malik's blood ran cold. "All ships, hold fire. I repeat, hold." Her order came too late. The missiles streaked towards the alien structure, impacting what appeared to be a shimmering energy field. The explosions were bright enough to momentarily blind the fleet's sensors. As the flash faded, an eerie silence fell over the comm channels. For a heartbeat, everyone held their breath, waiting for the aliens' response. It came with devastating swiftness. Beams of energy lanced out from the structure, slicing through two of Earth's smaller ships as if they were made of paper. The vessels erupted into balls of fire, their crews given no chance to escape. "Evasive maneuvers," Malik ordered, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. "All ships, return fire, target their weapon emplacements." The space around Jupiter's orbit transformed into a maelstrom of energy beams, missiles, and explosions. Earth's fleet fought with all the skill and determination they could muster, but it quickly became clear they were outmatched. The alien weapons were beyond anything humanity had ever encountered, effortlessly piercing their most advanced shields. Malik watched ship after ship fall to the alien onslaught. A realization struck her. The aliens' attacks, while devastating, seemed almost haphazard, as if they were reacting in panic rather than executing a pre-planned assault. "Cease fire," she commanded, her voice cutting through the din of battle. "All ships, cease fire immediately." "Commander," her first officer questioned, looking at her as if she'd lost her mind. "Trust me," Malik said, her eyes never leaving the tactical display. "And open a channel to the alien structure. All frequencies, full broadcast." As the Earth fleet's weapons fell silent, the alien attack also began to taper off. Seizing the moment, Malik spoke into the open channel. "This is Commander Zura Malik of the Earth Defense Fleet. We apologize for our aggressive actions. There has been a misunderstanding. We request immediate cessation of hostilities and open dialogue." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, slowly, the weapon ports on the alien structure began to close. A new voice came over the comm system. Not the aliens, but Captain Reynolds of the Curiosity. "Commander Malik, thank God you've stopped firing. Please, you need to understand. This isn't a weapons platform or invasion force. It's a government building." Malik blinked in confusion. "A what?" Reynolds continued, his voice heavy with the weight of his words. "This structure is the seat of the Galactic Council, a sort of interstellar United Nations. We've accidentally attacked the center of galactic government." The implications of Reynolds' words hit Malik like a physical blow. They hadn't stumbled into a war with a single alien race. They'd just opened fire on the capital of an entire galactic civilization. As if to confirm this unthinkable reality, a new voice joined the conversation. It was alien, yet somehow understandable, resonating directly in their minds rather than through the comm systems. "Representatives of Earth," the voice said, its mental tone a mixture of anger and bewilderment. "Your unprovoked attack on the sacred neutral ground of the Galactic Council is unprecedented in our history. Explain yourselves immediately, or face the combined might of 1,000 star systems." Malik swallowed hard, realizing that the fate of humanity now rested on her next words. She took a deep breath, then began to speak, hoping to somehow salvage this catastrophic first contact. "Honorable members of the Galactic Council," she said, choosing her words carefully. "On behalf of Earth, I extend our deepest apologies. Our actions were born of fear and misunderstanding, not malice. We are a young species, new to the galactic stage, and we have made a terrible mistake. We humbly request the opportunity to explain our actions and make amends." There was a long pause, during which Malik felt the weight of not just her crew's eyes, but the entire human race upon her. Finally, the alien voice spoke again. "Your request is unusual, but given the circumstances, we will grant you an audience. Prepare a delegation to board the council chamber. We will discuss the terms of your reparations. As the communication ended, Malik let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. They had a chance, a small one, but a chance nonetheless, to undo the damage they'd caused and secure humanity's place in the galactic community. Turning to her crew, Malik's voice was filled with grim determination. Well, it looks like we're going to be Earth's first diplomatic mission to the stars. Let's hope we can talk our way out of this mess, as well as we can shoot. As preparations began for the most important diplomatic meeting in human history, Malik couldn't help but wonder, how do you apologize for accidentally starting a war with the entire galaxy? The answer to that question would determine the future of humanity among the stars. Tense negotiations. The shuttle carrying Earth's hastily assembled diplomatic team docked with a soft thud in one of the Galactic Council's cavernous hangars. Commander Zara Malik took a deep breath, straightening her uniform one last time before the airlock cycled open. "Remember," she said to her small team, which included Captain Reynolds of the Curiosity and Dr. Ava Patel, Earth's leading xenolinguist, "we're not just representing ourselves or our nations anymore. We're speaking for all of humanity." As they stepped out into the alien environment, they were immediately struck by the sheer diversity of life forms bustling about. Creatures of all shapes, sizes, and compositions moved with purpose through the massive space, some floating, others slithering, many walking on varying numbers of limbs. A tall, willowy being with iridescent skin approached them, its 4 arms moving in complex patterns. "Welcome, Earthlings," it communicated directly into their minds. "I am Zixtal, liaison to the Council. Please follow me." As they made their way through winding corridors of impossible architecture, Malik couldn't help but marvel at the advanced technology surrounding them. Holographic displays flickered with information in countless alien languages, and what seemed to be personal transport devices zipped by noiselessly. Finally, they arrived at a set of towering doors that shimmered with an otherworldly energy. Zixtal turned to them, its tendril-like head appendages undulating slowly. "The Council awaits. Be warned. They are displeased." The doors slid open silently, revealing a vast circular chamber. Tiered seating rose in all directions, filled with representatives from what must have been hundreds of different species. At the center was a raised platform where 7 beings of distinct alien races sat, their attention now focused squarely on the human delegation. One of the central figures, a being that seemed to be composed entirely of swirling gases contained within a translucent shell, spoke. Its words resonated in their minds, tinged with a mix of anger and curiosity. "Humans of Earth," it began, "you stand before the Galactic Council, accused of unprovoked aggression against the seat of interstellar governance. How do you plead?" Malik stepped forward, her heart pounding but her voice steady. "Honorable Council, we plead guilty, but with an explanation. Our actions, while inexcusable, were born of fear and misunderstanding, not malice." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. Another council member, this one resembling a massive cephalopod suspended in a floating tank, interjected. "Fear. What could possibly drive such a primitive species to attack a power so far beyond their comprehension?" Dr. Paddle stepped up beside Malik. "If I may, esteemed council," she said, her expertise in alien communication proving invaluable. "Humanity has long wondered about our place in the universe. We've imagined countless scenarios of first contact, many of them less than peaceful. When we discovered your structure in our solar system, our lack of knowledge led us to assume the worst." The gaseous being swirled agitatedly. "Ignorance is no excuse for such violence. Perhaps your species is too volatile to be allowed free rein in the galaxy." Malik felt a chill run down her spine at the implied threat. She was about to respond when Captain Reynolds spoke up, his voice carrying the weight of his recent experiences. "Council members, I was among the first humans to set foot in this magnificent station. In our brief time here before the attack, we witnessed wonders beyond our wildest dreams. We saw cooperation between species so diverse we could hardly comprehend it. Humanity dreams of being part of something like this. He paused, looking around the chamber. Yes, we made a grave error, but consider this. Despite our fear, despite our misunderstanding, the moment we realized our mistake, we ceased fire. We chose diplomacy over continued violence. Doesn't that count for something? A new voice joined the conversation, a small, avian being with brilliantly colored feathers. Perhaps the humans have a point. After all, did we not make our own mistakes in our species' youths? The Krex Rebellion, the Zarnfar incident. This sparked a flurry of mental conversations among the council members, leaving the human delegation standing awkwardly in the center of the chamber. Malik exchanged nervous glances with her team. The fate of humanity was being decided in a debate they could only partially understand. Finally, the gaseous being spoke again. Humans, we have deliberated. While your actions were indeed reckless and dangerous, we acknowledge the unique circumstances of this first contact. However, reparations must be made. Malik nodded solemnly. We understand, and we're prepared to offer whatever we can to make amends. The cephalopod-like being rippled its tentacles in what might have been amusement. Oh, but you misunderstand. We're not interested in your primitive technology or resources. No, what the Council demands is far more valuable. We demand knowledge, the avian being chirped. Specifically, we are intrigued by your species' rapid advancement in military technology. Our own weapons, while powerful, have stagnated over millennia of peace. Malik blinked in surprise. You want our weapons technology? The gaseous being swirled affirmatively. Indeed. But more than that, we want to understand the mindset that drove such quick advancement. The Council has grown complacent. Your arrival has shaken things up in a way not seen for eons. Dr. Pidle stepped forward. Her scientific curiosity piqued. Are you suggesting some kind of cultural exchange? Precisely, the avian being trilled. We propose this. Earth will share its military advancements and join the Galactic Council as a probationary member. In return, we will grant you access to some of our non-military technologies and open diplomatic channels with various member species. The implications were staggering. Humanity would be catapulted centuries ahead technologically, while also gaining a voice in galactic affairs. But the responsibility. Malik took a deep breath. Honorable Council, your offer is incredibly generous. However, I don't have the authority to make such a monumental decision on behalf of all Earth. We would need to consult with our world leaders. The Council members conferred briefly before the gaseous being spoke again. Understood. We will open a direct communication channel to your world leaders. They have one Earth rotation to decide. Choose wisely, humans. This opportunity will not come again. As the human delegation was led out of the chamber, Malik's mind raced. They had come expecting punishment, possibly even the end of human independence. Instead, they were being offered a seat at the table of galactic civilization. But she couldn't shake a nagging worry. The Council's interest in human military technology seemed off. Were they really as peaceful as they claimed? Or had humanity's bumbling first contact revealed a hidden tension in galactic politics? As they boarded their shuttle to return to the Tranquility and relay the Council's offer to Earth, Malik realized that humanity's greatest challenge was just beginning. They had wanted to find their place in the universe. Now they had to decide what that place would be, and quickly. The next 24 hours would determine the course of human history for generations to come. Over the next few years, the impact of this new approach became clear. Long-standing conflicts began to find resolution. Trade disputes that had paralyzed entire sectors for centuries were untangled. The human talent for thinking outside the box, combined with the vast knowledge and resources of the Council, proved to be a formidable combination. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Human impetuousness sometimes clashed with the cautious, millennia-long perspectives of older races. There were missteps and setbacks. Yet each challenge was met with the same determination and adaptability that had defined humanity's journey to the stars. 5 years after the disastrous first contact, Malik stood on the observation deck of the council station, gazing out at the swirling clouds of Jupiter. Beside her stood Zixtal, the liaison who had first greeted them so long ago. "You know," Zixtal communicated, its mental voice tinged with what Malik had learned to recognize as amusement. "When your ships first appeared, many on the council thought it would be simpler to simply erase your species from existence." Malik winced. "I can't say I blame them, given how we introduced ourselves." Zixtal's head tendrils waved in a gesture of disagreement. "But that would have been a grave mistake. Your species has brought a vitality to the council that hasn't been seen in millennia. You've reminded us of the importance of growth, of change." As if to underscore Zixtal's point, a notification chimed on Malik's comm device. It was an update on the latest diplomatic mission. A centuries-old territorial dispute in a distant sector had just been peacefully resolved, thanks in large part to the efforts of the Galactic Diplomatic Corps. Malik smiled, feeling a swell of pride not just for humanity, but for the entire galactic community they were now an integral part of. "We've come a long way from firing missiles at your front door, haven't we?" Zixtal's mental laughter echoed in Malik's mind. "Indeed you have. And the galaxy is better for it." As they stood there, watching the dance of spacecraft arriving and departing from the station, Malik reflected on the incredible journey of the past 5 years. Humanity had stumbled onto the galactic stage in the worst way possible, yet somehow managed to turn potential catastrophe into an opportunity for growth, not just for themselves, but for the entire galactic community. They had found their place in the universe, not as conquerors or as subservient newcomers, but as catalysts for positive change. It wasn't the redemption anyone had expected, least of all humanity itself. But it was, Malik mused, a uniquely human way of making amends. As she turned to head to her next meeting, a summit on integrating human educational methods into galactic knowledge-sharing protocols, Malik felt a renewed sense of purpose. The journey of humanity among the stars was just beginning, and she couldn't wait to see where it would lead next. The universe, it seemed, wasn't just stranger than they had imagined. It was stranger than they could have imagined. And humanity, with all its flaws and virtues, was proving to be exactly what it needed. Humanity's unconventional redemption. The next 24 hours were the longest of Commander Zara Malik's life. As Earth's leaders debated the Galactic Council's offer, she found herself pacing the bridge of the Tranquility, her mind racing with the potential consequences of their decision. "Commander," Lieutenant Chen called out, breaking Malik's reverie. "We're receiving a transmission from Earth. It's the Secretary General of the UN." Malik straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. "Put her through." The holographic image of Secretary General Amara Okoro flickered to life on the bridge. Her expression was grave, but there was a glimmer of determination in her eyes. "Commander Malik," Okoro began, "after extensive deliberation with world leaders, we've reached a decision. We will accept the Galactic Council's offer with one condition." Malik raised an eyebrow. "A condition, Madam Secretary." Okoro nodded. "We will share our military technology and join the Council as a probationary member. However, we insist on full transparency. We want unrestricted access to the Council's archives and decision-making processes. If we're to be part of this galactic community, we need to understand it fully." Malik couldn't help but smile. It was a bold move, characteristic of humanity's insatiable curiosity. "Understood, Madam Secretary. I'll convey our decision to the Council immediately." As the transmission ended, Captain Reynolds, who had been listening nearby, approached Malik. "Do you think they'll go for it?" he asked, his voice low. Malik shrugged. "They're either going to see it as admirably forthright or unforgivably presumptuous. Either way, it's very human of us." The return to the council chamber was filled with tense anticipation. As Malik relayed Earth's decision and condition, she could sense a ripple of surprise among the assembled aliens. The gaseous being that seemed to lead the council swirled thoughtfully before responding. Your species continues to surprise us, humans. Such a request is unprecedented. And yet, perhaps that is exactly what this council needs. To Malik's astonishment, the council agreed to Earth's condition. What followed was a whirlwind of activity as humanity was thrust into the complex world of galactic politics. Teams of human scientists, engineers, and diplomats were dispatched to the council station, while representatives from various alien species began making their way to Earth. The exchange of knowledge and culture was dizzying in its scope and speed. Months passed, and humanity's influence began to be felt throughout the galactic community. Earth's military innovations, born from millennia of conflict, provided new perspectives on defense and peacekeeping. Meanwhile, alien technologies revolutionized everything from energy production to medicine on Earth. But it was in the realm of diplomacy that humanity truly shone. The human penchant for questioning established norms and seeking compromise in unlikely places began to shift the dynamics of the council. One day, about a year after the fateful first contact, Malik found herself once again standing before the council. But this time, she wasn't there as an accused aggressor, but as a respected representative of Earth. Esteemed council members, she began, her voice steady and confident. I come before you today with a proposal. Our studies of your archives have revealed a pattern of increasing stagnation in council decisions. Conflicts between member species have been allowed to simmer for centuries, deemed too complex or sensitive to address directly. A murmur ran through the assembled aliens. The avian being that had supported them earlier chirped curiously. And what do you propose, human Malik? Malik smiled. We propose the formation of a new branch of the council, a diplomatic corps specifically trained in conflict resolution. This team would be composed of members from all species, trained in human negotiation techniques, as well as the psychological and cultural intricacies of each council race. The cephalopod-like being's tentacles writhed skeptically. You believe your species, so new to the galactic stage, can solve conflicts that have persisted for eons. Not alone, Malik replied, but together, combining our fresh perspective with your deep wells of knowledge and experience, we believe we can make a real difference. The debate that followed was intense, lasting for days by Earth reckoning. But in the end, the council approved Malik's proposal. The Galactic Diplomatic Corps was born, with Malik herself appointed as its first director.